As we kick to the end of the round of 16 here, as we head to the cornfields of Iowa, the I-Squared Cup Series drivers inch closer and closer to trying to get the field of 12 set here at the end of tonight. We will have the field of 12 set, and we'll have 12 drivers left fighting for a championship. Hello everyone, my name is Kevin Young. Glad to bring you the action here as well as you join us in the middle of qualifying as drivers are finishing up their laps right now. We will cut to this man as we do go over qualifying here. Brandon Featherplace about to finish his first lap here for the Iowa 200 presented by 7 Bar Barbecue. So we'll pull the ticker up here, and again, as always, I'd like to thank Just the Top for sponsoring qualifying as they've done throughout the season so far. Featherplace's first lap, only in the 23.91. He's going to have to find about 7/10 if he wants to catch John Hagan, who is a current pole sitter here. Obviously, if you did not catch last week's race, we will spoil it in just a second, so make sure you check the replay of last week at Charlotte. It was a good race, but for those that did not tune in, John Hagan took victory, and he has now punched his ticket into the round of 12, with 11 other drivers hoping to do the same by the end of tonight. Featherplace just finished his second run, which will put him P5. Other than that, though, we do have Ross Baxter. He's about to finish his first of 2 laps as well. Only drivers have yet to put down times are Austin Mongold, as the 22 of Baxter gets a little bit loose there, and that is going to validate his first run. Luckily, though, he will have one more attempt, but it does seem like the second lap is the money lap, so he may be in a bit of trouble here as he heads out of pit lane. So as he leaves, we'll also show you Edward Marshall. He's coming on track now. We'll actually cut to Marshall. No offense to Baxter, but since Marshall is a playoff driver, we will follow him around for his 2 laps, and we'll go inside the cockpit as he was able to get a podium last week, the driver of the 16, and put himself in a great spot to try to get into the round of 12. We will go over the playoffs in just a second. We'll let qualifying conclude before we go over all the playoff information. So Iowa being relatively the same, you want to kind of get right there on that black part of the track there where you can see the grooves. That's where you want to plant your car for the most part through the corners. You can go a little bit lower, a little bit higher if you please, but that is pretty much where you want to be. This is one of the last short tracks of the season for these drivers, so this is where some of the drivers that excel at these short tracks are going to try to shine here tonight. First lap done for Edward Marshall, 23.70. He's going to have to find a little bit more time on his second run here if he wants to make this pole run. Coming off the last corner across the line. Be good enough for P7 for the driver of the number 16. So he'll actually just bump right between, we'll be on the same row as Dale Markowski. So at the moment, looking at the top 8, top 9 are all playoff drivers. First driver that is not a playoff driver is Kevin Feemster, who currently sits in 10th. So that is pretty much it for qualifying here. Only driver yet to go yet is Austin Mongold. I think he invalidated on both his runs. So we'll take this second while we have it as we let the, you can see the infield of dreams and all the Iowa scenery. We'll take a quick look at the playoffs and how it shakes up after last week. Obviously, like we alluded to, John Hagan took victory, and he will punch his ticket in. Then we looked further down. Brandon Featherplace, Seth Wansing, Edward Marshall. You would maybe not say locked in, but comfortably safe as long as they finish tonight. Should make the round of 12. Then it's Markowski, Patrick Orbistat, Matt Fordon, all about double digits above the line. Then Fleming, LaJoy, Gaiman, Dixon, and Josh Battles, 1 point ahead of Jonathan Adams. And you can see the drivers below the line are the drivers that had troubles last week. Matthew Kent obviously DNF'd. Tommy Withers also had a DNF. Blake Galloway just had a poor run, and Jonathan Adams also DNF'd as well. So you can see that the drivers that had a poor Charlotte last week are going to have to recover here tonight and make sure they put down good runs if they want to make the line. Obviously, here at ABN Studios, we'll try to give you an updated tracker throughout the race tonight. But obviously, we will get the official results on the ABN socials and all that to update the viewers at home. But we will try to, before the end of the broadcast, give you a clue of who the 12 drivers that will make it into the next round of the playoffs will be. But pretty much, it's safe to assume Featherplace, Wansing, Marshall, probably good at the moment, but after that, though, it is going to be a hornet's nest of if you make a mistake or don't get many stage points, you could find yourself on the outside looking in. So 10 seconds to go here in qualifying. Obviously, everyone has officially completed their laps. We were just waiting for the four-gong gong to go off. John Hagan will be your pole sitter with Oberstadt, Fordon, Gaiman, and Featherplace, your top 5. So qualifying is officially concluded and we will now head on to warm-up. So now we officially have turned over to warm-up. Drivers will now begin to go out on the track and take this opportunity to have a last-second chance to try to get some extra little practice in, make sure the cars are warmed up and everything is good and gripped up to avoid any catastrophes. And you can see a lot of drivers, including a couple playoff drivers, taking advantage of the opportunity right now. You can see Markowski, Kent, Vordon, Oberstadt, all heading on the track right now to get some last-second practice. Because short track tempers can flare. And as we do pull up the calendar here as well, just to show you what's up on the road here, this is technically by law, no, Texas is the last short track. New Hampshire is technically a shortish track. So technically we do have one more with New Hampshire to start the round of 8. But pretty much from here on out, it's going to be, besides, you got a 1.5 mile over concrete oval in Nashville. You got Charlotte Oval, obviously it's a road course. Las Vegas, another oval. And then Michigan, a high bank 2 mile speedway track. Not a super speedway, but that. So this is pretty much one of the last short tracks we will see on the calendar here before we head into August. So obviously right now we'll let drivers take the last minute practice session. Some drivers running new paint schemes to try to get in policy a good theme. I think that Seth Wansing running a, thought it was one thing, but I think it's something completely different. Hooray scheme here. We'll see if anyone else is running some new paint schemes as well. Most drivers feel comfortable with the schemes they run. Obviously we've seen Hagan run that Carolina Blue #1 for some time. Brandon Bethplace loves his Ghost Energy number 34. Matt Vordon back in the Harry Potter 00. Mark Dila in a Fanatec scheme in the 80 there. Good to see Michael Cheeseburger Lawrence back in the car in the 47. Bringing back the Bob's Burgers paint scheme. Obviously we talked about last week, Josh Gavin in the Dirty Air scheme. As I think Feemster was on record saying, even though he didn't make the playoffs, he's going to make sure Dirty Air gets in the playoffs one way or the other. So you see the Dirty Air CZW scheme right there. Not just going to check some other paint schemes here. See if anyone else on track has anything new rocking. Obviously Ross Baxter with the Lazy Bees Farms machine. And everyone else, pretty much else running similar paint schemes here, so not many drivers taking advantage and feel comfortable running the same schemes that they've run the past couple of weeks. Obviously looking at the chat right now before we get going. Obviously we see Midwest Barbecue Equipment is cheering on Seth Wansing as we follow on board with him right now, as they are hopeful that he can make it into the round of 12 or even find victories. He's one of those few drivers. As we pull actually back up the standings for a second, real fast, as we do have the wind totals on there. One of the few drivers that are in the playoffs have yet to find victory yet. And obviously being a 2-time champion, it's odd to say that he has not yet found victory, but he's definitely a driver that's been knocking on the door week in and week out to try to get that first win of the season. It wouldn't be a bad idea to win here tonight if you can. The driver running a paint scheme as well, counts a different one this week, is Kevin Feemster in that 17, that Landmaster scheme. Running a very orange and camo machine, kind of similar to Brian Johnson's 72 a little bit, at least with the orange. Let's hope that doesn't cause any mistakes here for the spotters out on the track. So with a minute to go here, we're going to take a quick pause. We'll obviously stay on board here with the warm-ups, and we will join you right back in just a second for driver introductions and the main race. So do not go anywhere. We'll be back in just 1 minute. We'll let the sights and the sounds of Iowa take you away, and we will see you when we get ready for the main race. So we now officially end up the warm-up. We will head on to the main race, so we will see you on the other side. So for those tuning in, you've just come in at just the right time, as we are now officially heading on to the Iowa 200. 200 laps await these drivers as they will run through the cornfields of Iowa. And at the end of the 200 laps, one driver will punch their ticket in victory lane, and 12 drivers will be on the fast track train to the round of 12'sville. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's take a look at the starting grid. Starting in row number 1, we got John Hagan and Patrick Oberstadt. They'll be in row number 1. Row 2 will be Matt Fordon and Josh Gaiman, both playoff drivers. They'll be in row number 2. Row 3, Brandon Featherplace and Seth Wansing. They'll make up the third row. Row 4, Edward Marshall and Dale Markowski. They're in row 4. Jonathan Adams and Kevin Feemster in row 5. Feemster, highest of the playoff drivers. He'll be in row number 5. Row number 6, Colin McDonough and Chris Burton. They'll be in row 6. Row 7, another playoff driver, Mike LaJoy and Chris Fleming. Row 8, Blake Galloway and Tommy Withers, both playoff drivers as well. Row number 9, Ross Baxter and Brian Dixon. Row 10, Mark Dila and Brian Johnson. Row 11, Joshua Battles, Michael Cheeseburger Lawrence. And row number 12, Matthew Kent and Austin Mongold will round out the 24-car field here tonight. So as they begin to leave the pit lane here, let's take a look at the truck here. You can see it will be only one pace lap, so it will be a quick start to this race. Take this quick chance to quickly run over all the information. Stages will be on lap 30 and 100. They'll have 5 sets of tires and a 50% fuel tank of capacity. So as usual, they will have to pit at least once in stage number 2 and at least once in stage number 3, if not twice, depending on how it shakes up, but not any time in the first stage. Lastly, no fast repairs, and 3 green-white checkered attempts. And lastly, first restart on green, every other restart on leader's discretion. But I think that will take care of that, and we'll actually have one more lap. So obviously did not see the lights out on the pace truck, so we'll have one more lap of pacing. So we'll take this quick chance to get everything situated. Quickly run over to make sure. I believe all the playoff drivers are here. Just going to do a quick double check here to make sure. Yep, all 16 playoff drivers are here. So everyone, no drivers will miss out. So everyone will be fighting for every position they got, so no one will get any free spots, as they all will be fighting out here to try to make the round of 12. Some drivers will have some work to do. Other drivers just hoping to get out of here without any gray hairs. But we'll see how it all plays out throughout the rest of this night. Pace truck going to pull on off. We are going to get this show underway.
Green, green, green.
Green flag is out, and away we go for the Iowa 200. Lap number 1 will be in a similar spot to what we've seen tonight. John Hagan will lead the first lap here, with Vordon now falling into second, as we saw a few drivers get up and out of the road in the groove. And everyone else pretty much keeps it going in the right direction, and no one ends up getting sent around here. Chris Burton, as you see a little further back here, he's one of the drivers that took the big loss here, as he got stuck on the high side in that Jimmy Johnson-inspired 48. And he's looking to just try to stop the bleeding here and find a way back down. Back up towards the front, Matt Vordon just set the fast lap of the race. It is only lap 2. It at least is indicative of the speed he has shown week in and week out. He's been one of those drivers that have made slow and steady improvements, and slowly it could be a dark horse to take the championship crown. Further back, Edward Marshall and Brandon Featherplace fighting for P6 at the moment. Marshall had a good run there on the inside, but couldn't fully get it done. Obviously, Sunny Money Racing teammates, both Wansing and Edward Marshall, as they have a Bowie Esports 34 sitting right between the two of them. So a little bit further up, it's getting a little bit kind of spicy up there. Obviously, there's Patrick Oberstadt and Josh Gaiman, but they have slowly reeled in John Hagen here. Now, obviously, short tracks, it's vital to take care of your tires and know how to save your stuff when you need to. It's going to be quite indicative to do that. You don't burn up your stuff, obviously, first stage. Not over risk of losing your tires. But there is a risk as we get to the second, third stage. Those drivers that really struggle, that have to come in for the undercut usually to get the best advantage, could be in a world of hurt. Right now we ride on board with Patrick Oberstadt, who has a good view right now. In front of him, the top two, getting shades of a battle going on. Further back, you got to see just in the cut line, Josh Gaiman getting a little bit antsy, maybe trying to find a way around because he knows Seth Wansing has slowly reeled him in as well. As no major separation is getting to play out here, but right there you can see Fordon getting a good run, and that number 00 machine, and he'll get clear. So put Fordon now up to race lead. Hagen going to fall down to second. Oberstadt, Gaiman, and Wansing your top 5. See if anything else of note is playing out right now. A little bit further back, we're looking at the last stage point right now in the hands of Dale Markowski, who had a great run last week at Charlotte. So looking at his main rivals around him, currently up inside the top 10. He knows Chris Fleming right behind him in the points by 3. He knows he needs to make sure he doesn't fall outside the top 10 here, but you know you got some hungry drivers knocking up the mirrors. He's got to make sure he's careful and doesn't make too many mistakes here. A little bit further back, another playoff driver, Tommy Withers. Obviously coming in tonight was 8 points on the line out of the playoff spots right now in that Air Force Machines. Currently running 15th. Definitely knowing he wants to maybe at least get a stage point here if he can help it, but obviously easier said than done. He's pinned on that high side right now, which is not the ideal strat you want to be. As we go on board here with Mark Dila. You see right now, he's also on the high groove. You can just see sometimes in the point where you just can't fully get down. It's kind of like Martinsville a little bit, where that low line is where you want to make your moves. However, you can kind of ride around that high side if you've got the speed differential in your advantage, but that low side eventually just kind of wins it out if you can really make the corner work. Down this battle for right now is one of the closest we have on track, but it does look like it's getting a little bit shaken up here. It's up the road. Edward Marshall has finally gotten the inside of Brandon Featherplace, and he will get the job done. So put Marshall now up a spot, and then Seth Wansing was trying to get around Josh Gaiman, but could not get the job fully done here, so he'll slot back into 5th. We know how short track tempers can fly. Obviously, it's a bit early, so no one's going to really do anything stupid. We know the longer these runs go and tempers get flared, is maybe they feel like they're getting held up. Things can play out quite nicely here. Go on board here with Josh Gaiman. Has found success at Iowa in the Next Machine, but not in the A² series. So he knows how to really get these cars pointed around this direction. Just can he find luck in that number 61? A little bit further back, Brandon Featherplace beginning to maybe fall a little bit here. Playing a bit of possum, maybe struggling a little. Jonathan Adams can try to make a move here. Featherplace, one of the biggest losers to start this race, as he has lost 3 spots from where he qualified. Obviously, the biggest drop is Chris Burton, who's fallen down 12 spots, as he's really beginning to struggle. But outside of him, the next highest is 3, which is a tie between him and Brian Johnson. Up front, John Hagen beginning to get a little bit prancy here. He wants his lead back. Remember, if you do lead a lap, you do get 1 extra bonus point for your troubles, and if you lead the most laps, you get 1 as well. Seth Wansing going to try to make it 3 wide, as he's going to try to go around Oberstadt there and Gaiman. Gaiman's going to survive the challenge. Oberstadt may not be so lucky here. So Hagen gets clear for the lead. We stay on this for a second. Ooh, Wansing, can he get the run he needs on the corner here? Go on board here with Marshall. You see how methodical it can be sometimes. Oberstadt, though, going to hit the wall. That's how easy it can be sometimes when your driver makes a mistake. You can capitalize. As Wanzing's now up to third. Marshall's going to think about making a move, but Gaiman is looking to follow suit here around Fordon. Do wonder if Fordon may have burned up his stuff a little bit here too early, as he's not going to fall down to third. Go back here, keeping an eye on two battles here at once. Marshall trying to get around Oberstadt. Ooh, Marshall gets a little loose there, almost trying to avoid not washing up into Oberstadt. Luckily, though, he will not hit him, and they both will keep pulling in the right direction. This next time by, we'll have 10 laps to go in the stage. Okay, with laps being only about 23 seconds, they can tick off like that. You get about 3 laps in a minute. So it can go by in a flash if you're not careful. So the top spots are beginning to get a little bit settled out here. We're going to go just a little bit further back right now to keep an eye on the last stage point. Now currently in the hands of Blake Galloway, who's right now ahead of Dale Markowski. So Markowski has fallen down to 11th. And then you got Chris Fleming just behind the road here. So 3 playoff drivers fighting over 1 playoff point here. Up the road, Adams now going to try to get around Feather Place. This is the battle for 7th. I do wonder what is struggling that 34, as he's usually stronger on these short tracks. We've seen him have success at Gateway and other tracks similar to that vein. So he is beginning to struggle a little bit. Obviously, Feather Place is definitely a driver that can overcome adversity and make changes, so we'll have to make note of that when it happens. But still, side by side, Adams and Feather Place are. Let's head up on the 1. So still side by side. Not missing anything up for the lead. It is pretty much spaced out. Hagen has about a half a second gap over Gaiman right now. Chris Burton leaving the pit lane here. He's going to be at least a lap down right now. He's trying to get out of the way here. Be careful not to wash up into the competitors. This battling is allowing Fiends to slowly reel up, as you see him right there in 9th on your shot. That time by, Adams' Feather Place were a little bit tick faster, but that gap is shrinking a little bit. But now Adams going to get clear here, at least for a moment. Feather Place, though, still going to try to chip away on that low side. So watch this battle play out on our eyes. We don't want to cut away, but this is, again, the closest battle. We do see up on the 4 shot, though, Wanzing is hounding the back of Matt Bourdon. Cut that in just a second. Every time it looks like one driver has the advantage, we saw Adams about to be cleared. Now Feather Place is going to get the job done. So Feather Place is now back up to 7 and will survive the onslaught that Jonathan Adams put on him. Further up the road, we got obviously Bourdon struggling with Wanzing, and you can all see further up, Gaiman going to try to maybe take the stage win away from Hagen. This time by, we'll have 3 to go in the stage, as the stage does end on 30, not after 30. Right there, Wanzing will avoid the challenge. So we'll go back up, as both, it seems, Adams and Wanzing both struggled there. Once the kind of car got up the groove there, they just couldn't keep it fully planted. So it does show, especially with the short track packages, where you can place it. Track position does seem to be key. 2 to go in the stage. Hagen is trying to survive off Josh Gaiman. Last stage point at the moment is still in the hands of Blake Galloway, but right now we see Galloway fighting Feemster for 9th. And then further up, it's a train from 3rd all the way back to 8th. Good chance to make some last-second points here if you can help it. White flag in the stage here. Hagen just took the flag. He's got a comfortable gap to game in here. As long as he doesn't step on it, he should be able to take home the Stage 1 victory. As he comes to 3 and 4 right now, Gaiman just going to be a little bit too far back. Hagen, your winner in Stage number 1. So come across the line here. We're going to cut further back here, see the rest of the field come across the line. No major changes, and Feemster going to be the last driver in on stage points. So that is going to be the first stage in the books, caution-free. As we take a look at the results of stage number 1, Hagen gets the max points at 10 and a stage victory. Get an extra playoff point that will help him. Gaiman will come home with 9 points. Then you got Matt Fordon getting 8, Seth Wanzing getting 7 points, Edward Marshall getting 6, Patrick Oberstadt getting 5 points, Brandon Featherplace getting 4, Jonathan Adams getting 3 points, Blake Galloway getting 2 points, and Kevin Feemster getting the last stage point. So obviously a lot of playoff drivers did not get any stage points here. At least on the bubble, I should say. Obviously, we're looking at the drivers on the bubble. Obviously looking at the playoffs, 9 out of 10 playoff drivers got points there. However, at least with the drivers on the bubble, Fleming, LaJoy, Dixon, Battles, Withers, and Kent all didn't get points. Gaiman, though, that was just what the doctor ordered, only being 3 above the line, giving him 9 points. At the very least, will push him 12, well, about give or take 12 points above the cut line. So that was a good first stage for Josh Gaiman. So pit lane officially open here. So we'll pull up the pit lane camera here. I'll keep an eye on the race off pit lane. Chris Burton will get his lap back via the lucky dog, but he'll still be, I believe, actually I think he should circle around here and at the very least, I believe, get at least either be 1 down or back on the lead lap. We'll see in just a second. Now question is, though, who will come out ahead here on the race-off pit lane? And it will be John Hagen. Seth Wanzing's crew will get a big job done here. He'll come home in second. Arshel third. Gaiman's crew will lose him 2 spots. Oberstadt, Adams, Featherplace, Fordon, Galloway, McDonough, Feemster. Your next car's off pit lane and see the rest of the cars file on off. Obviously, Chris Burton was able to get back on the lead lap here, and he's just going to have to cycle to the back here, but he will at least be back on the lead lap. 2 cars stuck in pit lane right now. Mike LaJoy with a long clock there with 45 seconds, and Mark Dila going 40 seconds. Dila does have some damage on that front. Look at LaJoy, though. His car looks relatively okay. So I do wonder maybe if he got busted for some sort of penalty here, but at the very least, though, he will stay on the lead lap along with Mark Dila. We should get the one to go this time by. See if anyone else likes to come on down and top off. I see a Wanzing in the chat right now rooting on Seth as he's going to be firing off on the front row here along with John Hagen. They'll be in row number 1. Gaiman Marshall will be in row number 2. Adams and Oberstadt will be in row 3. Brandon Featherplace and Matt Verdon in row 4. Blake Galloway and Colin McDonough will be the first 5 rows here as we get going here. Obviously, stage 2 a little bit longer than stage 1. We do hypothesize that there will be possibly a pit stop in this stage under green if it stays green, as that usually is the case with fuel runs being in the 50% capacity. Stage will end on lap 100, so they will have over 65 laps before we see the stage 2 flag. Control will be on John Hagen as we come to the green. Green flag is out, and away we go to start stage number 2. Great launch by John Hagen. Wanzing caught a little bit napping. So Hagen will lead off where he led off the first stage by leading the first lap of stage number 2. Wanzing and Marshall, teammates at Sunny Money, battling for second. As the rest of the cars begin to file in and make moves. So where it can get a bit interesting here as we do watch a little further back, Markowski and Galloway will fight for 10th place honors. Fighting here. Obviously, Galloway, one of those drivers on the cut line, needs a good run. He currently sits in 12th position. Major separation, obviously, in this pack here. And even when we go further up, Wanzing is pulled away from the first pack here, you could say, of Marshall, Oberstadt, Gaiman, and Featherplace. See right here, battle playing on. We see right there, though, it caught my eye more. 2 wide between Feimster and Adams, and 2 wide, almost 3 wide, with Markowski, Dixon, and Fleming. Oh, Dixon gonna get hooked on the corner panel there. He's gonna shoot up the road. No caution called here. We are gonna stay green, as it is only single car. We'll take a quick look here at what happened, as we are gonna stay green here. Kind of saw it from that angle. We'll play it out here again, just real fast. Just coming off the corner, Dixon just looked like he tried to clear, and Fleming was there, and he just got himself turned off the corner front. Luckily, no one else will pile in. However, with race control being here, they will deem that not an incident, as we will stay green. Back to live action we go. Obviously, Dixon going to be down to 24th, which is not good, as he was only 2 above the line. And I think pretty much at the moment, 1 above the line. He is going to be out of stage points here unless we get a caution. Further up, though, we see right there, it is still Argy Bargy. 2 by 2 by 2. Take him off the boat with Ross Baxter and Adams. You got, at the very least, McDonough there with Kent and LaJoy and Austin Mongold. Adams will be way up the group as well. He's going to lose multiple spots, as he's just going to maybe just try to get out of this to avoid ending up with a wrecked race car. Stay on this for a second. Everyone else ahead of the road is single file, but we see just a little bit up the road, Kevin Feimster trying to make a move on both Featherplace and Edward Marshall in a very unconventional spot on the racing surface, trying to rip it around the high side. Not usually seen here very often, but he's going to try to make it work here. He's already gotten around Featherplace. Now going to try to get around and make the move on Marshall. Still side by side, bit of a blinking there from Gaiman. Should be very harmless, though. This opportunity will go on board here with Brandon Featherplace, as he's kind of picking his line and picking his spots. Does he want to stay behind the 16 or follow the 17? He thinks the high side's going to work. And I do wonder if Marshall may have got a poor exit there. He did. And that is going to allow Featherplace to get clear along Feimster. So a 2-spot loss for Edward Marshall. And now Vordon is looking to try to make a move. We battle it once we can. Again, I don't know what they've put in that 17, but Kevin Feimster is rocketing up here. See Mark Vila still with the moving machine. He looks like he's going to come down pit lane. We'll see if he elects to continue, but his race at the moment seems to be almost over, as he's going to go 1 down here. So that 17, we'll keep an eye on him, as he's one of the biggest movers up right now in this restart, up over 5 spots. As he is heading fast, heading quickly up through the field. Keep keep an eye on this. We're going to go a little bit further back, just outside the top 10. Ross Baxter currently 11th, under pressure here from Galloway. Chris Fleming, last driver in on stage points, currently sitting in 10th. As he's holding it down for Black Ass Racing along with Dale Markowski, as he's looking to get both of them in to the next round here. Austin Mongold with that USF machine. It's one of the few college schemes you see on the track. Obviously, Ross Baxter has a West Virginia logo on the side corner panel. And we also see, obviously, John Hagan with the Carolina Blue Tar Heel scheme. Ooh, we see almost teammates come to blows there. Markowski and Fleming. Fleming almost got in the corner panel of Markowski, but they both keep pointed in the right direction. So on lap 50, we'll head back up towards the lead. John Hagan has a good gap right over Seth Wanzing. As you see on the up-to-speed graphic, over 8/10 between Hagan and Wanzing. And after that, it's about 2 seconds, third place car to Hagan, and about a second and some change to Wanzing. So they have checked out away from our third place car, Brandon Fedplace, who's definitely had a good rebound stage here, as he's now sitting in third. And able to get around Patrick Oberstadt and a few others. So Featherplace really finding that late run speed. Right there you can see Oberstadt trying to go low side here, but he's going to get ripped around the high side by Gaiman. So Oberstadt beginning to struggle a little bit here, it seems, as he's not fully getting a good stage 2 going for him here. Considering the stage is still over 50 laps to go before we get to the halfway point of this race and the end of stage 2. If you're not feeling comfortable with your car, you'll definitely feel the adverse effects here, and you know Oberstadt's just wondering what he can do to hang on to this bucking Bronco. Checking a little bit further back, we got Marshall and Fort Don here. There's Galloway, Kent, Mongold on our screens here. No one, pretty much everyone's single file for the most part. We have concepts of a battle, if you will, but no one truly within striking distance to get a move done here. Now I say that, it looks like Baxter thinking about ripping around the high side of Fleming. We do also presumably assume by our mathematicians here at ABN Studios that there should be at least a pit stop in this stage, or if it stays green. Obviously, being 70 laps, they went about 30 on one tank. We should see it presumably somewhere between lap 70 and afterwards. Try to split the stage pretty much in half, so you go 35 and 35. About 65 is when the window should hopefully open up here. Kevin Feemster was able to get around Patrick Oberstadt while we're watching a little bit further back. So now Feemster up to 5th. Oberstadt is now falling down to 6th. And again, it looks like he is really struggling, just hoping that window will open up soon for him. He's definitely, right now, it seems to be at the moment, a driver that's definitely going to be on the undercut strategy. We know drivers like Wanzing and Marshall love their undercut. It does make you wonder if an undercut is on the cards also for Oberstadt, to see he's beginning to struggle with tire wear. Speaking of Wanzing, he's beginning to lose touch to Hagan. It's now fallen from 8/10 to now 2 seconds, as he has now fallen into the clutches of Featherplace and Marshall and Gaiman. So he's beginning to fall back here, as Hagan is beginning to open up a big gap. Last time by, 24.68 for Hagan, one of the fastest cars on the track. Next fastest is the man, the CZW scheme of Josh Gaiman, who ran at 24.70. Everyone else in the 24.8 bracket inside the top 5. That time by, pretty much everyone ran dead even times, but fastest car on track was actually Kevin Feemster, currently sitting in 5th. We're a little bit further back here. It's getting a little side by side here. Again, this is the last stage point. Fleming and Ross Baxter. Obviously, that point spot means a lot more for Fleming And it does for Baxter, but there doesn't look much anything Fleming can do here, as Baxter's going to get around him. So put now Fleming out to 11th. And obviously coming tonight was only 7 points above the line and did not get any stage points in the first stage. That line is getting closer and closer if he's not careful. Speaking of drivers that are struggling, Overset got passed by Marshall. Now at the moment, stuck between Marshall and Vordon. And speaking of, I did say we're about to enter the window, and Edward Marshall thinks it is time. He is in. We know he is pretty much the undercut pioneer, so he is going to give up his top 7 spot. He will come down pit lane, meaning pit windows officially opened. And the question is, who will follow in suit here in these next couple laps? So keep an eye on the inside pit lane here. I assume we'll see maybe them hold off a couple more laps here. Is if you can get to 65 or 65, you can pretty much split it in half. Oh, Mongol's going to go up the road a little bit, going to block off Kent, which is going to help Galloway here, who's going to make this a big gain for him. He's going to gain 1 spot, if not 2 spots here, by being in the right place at the right time. Watch this battle. We can confirm Edward Marshall did take 2 tires on his stop. He did not take a full 4 set. So he is going to be trying a 2 stop to get some extra track position. So I would comfortably say the window is now officially opened here, as we are now at halfway in the stage. As he watches this battle currently for 11th. Oh, Ross Baxter way up the road there. Looks like we saw him get a little bit loose on the screen. And he is going to be stuck up way up the groove, so he is going to fall outside the top 10. That slight mistake. So stay on the battle between Fleming and Galloway, between the 2 playoff drivers here. Oh, Markowski also just got a correction of oversteer. He hits that outside wall. Looks like the tires are beginning to fall and fall quick, as he also almost ends up ending his day early here. Matthew Kent in, Ross Baxter also in. Kent for strategy, Baxter, I'm wondering, also strategy, or at the very least, looking to fix his car. Still no changes up front. John Hagan has opened up a healthy gap. He's now currently at the moment 3 seconds clear of Seth Wanzing, with better place 4 seconds back and game and 4 1/4 back of Hagan, but 2nd, 3rd, and 4th all getting relatively close to each other here. So it's Chris Burton, who's a couple laps down right at the moment, going to re-merge onto the track here. Now this is where it gets kind of interesting, because it almost feels like the gap's a little bit too big to really make that undercut work. But obviously you don't want to do an overcut and make the gap work. So it feels like at this point you're just trying maybe different strategies to try to understand what your car can do best here. You're in the feeling out process, if you will, of trying to understand what your car can do on 2 and 4 tires. And speaking of that, Gaiman and Wanzing both in. You do not want to make a mistake on pit lane and get busted for speeding. Gaiman's going to get the better advantage there as he gained more time on entry, while Wanzing took it a bit conservative. They're both going to be in here. We're going to keep an eye on what they take. Kent and Marshall took 2 tires on their stop. We'll see, obviously, with being a short run, tires are going to be a premium. But will anyone be bold enough to take 4 here? So keep an eye on the jack man here. Up on the jack, both go on the right sides. Will left sides go up? It won't for Wanzing, but it will for Gaiman. So Gaiman going to take 4, Wanzing only going to take 2. We'll keep an eye on this. Gaiman's one of the first 4 drivers to take 4 tires here on their green flag pit stop here. Can 4 tires be beneficial? Feather Place also in here. So Hagan staying out the longest, which is not the most circumstance we see is we usually see Hagen come in before we see Featherplace, but Featherplace in this time by. Keep an eye on him as well to see what he will take. And now John Hagen also in as well. So both of them will give up. Hagen will give up the lead. And we see Vordon going to come in as well. That's going to promote Blake Patrick Oberstadt to the race lead here. And he will get a lap led for his troubles, along with Blake Alloway now in second. So we'll cut back to Featherplace here. He took 2 tires on his stop. John Hagen, he's got a long way to go to get to his box. We'll see what he takes here, 2 or 4. Jack goes up for the Smeel Racing driver for the right side. Will the left go up as well? No, it will be 2 tires for him as well. So he will come out with the lead. I say that, but Edward Marshall did take the super undercut. We'll see if he can maybe get around him, but at the moment, well, it's going to be close here. Yeah, Marshall's going to jump Hagen, so the super undercut worked for Edward Marshall. But that's a tire difference of many laps here, and you're going to see it play its advantage here. Galloway will pit from second position, and they're at the moment ready to get at least one of their laps back. Actually, I think both of their laps. They'll get back on the lead lap here if they can get around Oberstadt, who is currently in the car, pitting them 1 down. So Hagen now back on the lead lap, along with Edward Marshall in just a second here. So as it cycles through, the top 5 will be Hagen, Marshall, Wansing, Featherplace, Gaiman at the moment, if it all cycles through on pit stop. Tommy Withers will come on in. He'll give up a top 10 run right now at the moment to come in for service. Again, everyone inside the top 9 spots, now 8 spots, will have to come in at least once. They cannot make it to the end of the stage while stopping. Obviously, some of these drivers like Oberstadt, McDonough, Oberstadt, LaJoy, Battles, Adams, Dixon may try to go a little bit long here just to hope they can get 1 extra lap led and get the 1 bonus point. Because you never know, 1 bonus point can help you out of a jam. So Seth Wansing will get back on the lead lap here, which is beneficial for him if caution were to come out. Brian Johnson will pit from 8th. And if you want an indicator of how much gap a 2 to 4 seconds is when you take tires like this, Brandon Featherplace right now getting his lap back here is coming across the start-finish line now. It's about a 2 to 3 second gap between Gaiman and Featherplace. And remember, Gaiman came in and took the undercut, so theoretically that gap is closer than it should be because of the undercut. So it just shows if the rest of the field takes 2, you may be in the best strategy to take 2 as well. Obviously, Gaiman feels like the 4 tires are going to play out, but this is food for thought for the rest of the field. They're going to use this information they get from Gaiman taking 4 and the rest of the field taking 2. And when we get the last green flag pits up the race, the question of should I take 2 tires or should I take 4 will be the prevalent question on everyone's mind. Further up, we see the battle right now for P3 in the stage as Marshall, his tires are beginning to reel here as he came in at lap 61. Brandon Featherplace 10 lap fresher tires than Marshall, and you can see them work their magic as he's going to get around Edward Marshall. So Featherplace now up to P3 when it cycles through P10 on track as Marshall's now in 11th. Oberstadt is giving us a clue on how long the fuel tank can actually go here as well. As remember, he came last in at 31. Has gone 50 laps on a tank of fuel. Obviously looking maybe to shortchange it here, but obviously there is a risk if he goes too long and loses too much time. He could be at a risk of going 1 down. Brian Dixon will pit. He is now officially in. So Oberstadt, Mongold, McDonough, McJoy, Battles, Adams have yet to pit. Your top 6. Looks like I was going to say, it looked like he was thinking about coming in there, Oberstadt, but he is going to stay out another lap here. Speaking of undercut, overcut speed, Featherplace has found a way around Wanzing, so the overcut is working in Featherplace's favor here, as he's gotten around Seth Wanzing. However, the gap is still over about 5 seconds away from John Hagen. Matthew Kent here battling Matt Vordon. Kent, again, one of those drivers, took the early undercut. Vordon went later. About a 6-lap difference on tire strategy here. As all these cars are getting around our current race leader, Patrick Overstad. Oh, Kent gets a little loose there. That's going to cost him some time. But again, point in the right direction, we stay green. So again, the longer Oberstadt stays out, maybe it gives us information on how long you can take a tank of fuel, and then again, what last lap can come in. But it does make you wonder, will the tires lose their competitive edge before the fuel runs out? Well, obviously, they pretty much already lost their competitive edge, but I mean in the sense of you're pretty much just a boat anchor. You have a boat anchor tied to the back of it, and the risk you're at. If you can make it to 91, he will hit over 60 laps since his last stop, as he's currently, at the moment, came in at 31. – 57 laps currently on those tires. We're going to talk by green laps. We'd say about 55. And now it looks like he will come in, so you can make it maybe about 55 laps on a tank of fuel. Oberstad is in. McDonough will go one more lap here. So maybe he can get an extra lap or two. And looking at the final stage, theoretically, that means that the last pit stop could come in north of 150 and you can make it to the end if you can save the tank of gas you need. It does raise a question, though, even if you can make it that far, can you make the tires work? As we see McDonough come in. So he will lead one lap. He is in. Battle's going to stay out, but just to show you in comparison, Battles right now is going to lead a lap. However, you see John Hagen in that mirror. Hagen's about to come around and take the lead back without even Battles having to pit. So Battles going to get one extra point. That's good for him, as he was the bubble driver, the last driver on the cut line. However, that's only going to get you so far, as now Hagen going to get around, and we have a new race leader in John Hagen. He has gotten it back again. And Battles is also going to come in now as well. So with only Jonathan Adams' last car yet to pit here, he's going to make it 60 laps on a tank of fuel. So again, put that number in the back of your mind. Theoretically, you can come in at 140 and make it to the finish if it stays green. Now, will anyone do that? It's a different story, but at least it's a thought in drivers' minds, as now we see Featherplace get around Adams for second. Only Adams is the only driver not yet to come in, by the way, as he currently is still trying to go as long as he can. Don't know if his end game here is a caution, or if he, because theoretically, if the number was hittable, Adams, a lot of the cars would have stayed out. So Adams is clearly, I guess, hoping for a caution here in some regard. But if he can somehow make it 7 more laps, he can at the very least get himself, right now at the moment, 8 stage points. But considering Wanzing and Gaiman are currently sitting here, Wanzing here and Gaiman here, about straight away from him, we'll see if that's even possible. So we'll keep on this cycle as Hagen is hit lap 94. For the back, Edward Marshall just got passed by Josh Gaiman. So Edward Marshall, even though he did do the super undercut, has still got his car inside the top 10. Last driver in on stage points at the moment belongs to that man, Matthew Kent, as he is about a healthy distance away from Chris Fleming, who's in 11th. And he's about 2 seconds back of Kevin Feemster in 9th. So he's pretty much on an island. As long as he doesn't make a mistake, should at least get at least 1 stage point. So back to third, as we see right now the gap begin to shrink here. Adams finding that emergency fuel here. Wanzel looking to make a move here and try to get around him. 4 laps to go in the stage. Again, John Hagen unopposed up front. Big distance between him and Feather Place. Just to put it up in the graphic here, even with traffic, there's John Hagen as he's coming up 4 right now to take lap 97. Ben Feather Place is about 5 seconds back. And Seth Watson's about 7 from our current race leader. Three laps to go here. 2 laps to go and pretty much about 10 seconds here. As Hagen looks poised to take stage number 2 and sweep the stages. Again, I sit here and wonder, can Abs make this fuel tank work? Because theoretically, it's going to be a net gain for the driver who was outside the top 20 when the pit stop started. Even if he loses another spot or 2, it's still a net gain for the driver of the 8, but he's got to make it 2 more laps. Can he do that? He is backing it down quite a treat. That time by, he ran a 25:59, while everyone else is a second quicker. However, he won't have to go long as John Hagen's going to come across the line here, and he is going to win stage number 2 and take home both stages. Coming across the line now. And everyone else will have to cross it under their own power. Feather Place will come home second there. Wanzing will come home 3rd in the stage. Adams is going to have enough fuel to take 4th. Now the question is, does he have enough to get around to the open pit stop window? Gaiman will come home 5th. Marshall 6th, Galloway 7th, and so on and so forth. We'll take a look at that in just a second. But John Hagen, your stage winner, but again, hat tip to Jonathan Adams. He gets some stage points and also, at the very least, will get track position by going well over 70 laps on 1 tank of fuel. So we'll take a look here at the stage result. John Hagen gets the max 10 points from getting the stage victory. Feather Place will get 9 by coming in 2nd. Wanzing in 3rd. Adams comes home in 4th and will get 7 points for his troubles. Gaiman comes home, gets another 6 to add on to his total. Edward Marshall gets 5 points for the stage. Galloway will get 4 points. Matt Fordon will get 3 points. Kevin Feemster will come home in 9th in the stage. Matthew Kent will get the last stage point and will come home in 10th. Notable drivers not getting stage points here as pit lane is officially opened. Notable drivers not getting any stage points here tonight include Tommy Withers, Brian Dixon, Mike LaJoy, and Chris Fleming, along with Dale Markowski. So pit lane now officially open. Adams is officially out. You can see him right now just limping down pit lane here. So he made it to the physical end. He's now not going to be able to reap the benefits of coming in this early. That thing is completely shut off. This is where he probably wished he had a quicker pit lane here. He's now under risk of even going 1 down if he's not careful. Obviously, no assistant's going to come and help him here. And we're going to stay on him. Hagen wins the race off pit lane. This is now the curious question of the day. Can he get to his box and not go a lap down? Obviously, it's coming close here. Right there's that big neon number 8. Crew is just waiting and hoping he can limp it to the line. Almost hits Tommy Withers indirectly. But he is going to make it. You don't want to overshoot it. And he is in, so he will get service. He will lose the track position he gained, obviously, by staying out. However, he will get that, but to make it worse, though, it looks like he will now officially go 1 down 2. So he gets the stage points. That could be maybe enough to save him. However, he's now going to have to hope for maybe a caution or something to get back on the lead lap. However, he will be the first car at least 1 down. So if a quick caution were to come out, we'll be back on the lead lap. As we get out a calculator here, I'm going to do some quick stage map here to try to give us a quick update of where everyone currently rides. Just give me 1 second here. So you see the lap cars get their lap back here. Almost done with the math here. So at the moment, the 4 drivers currently out, if my math is correct, is Matthew Kent, Tommy Withers, Blake Galloway, and Joshua Battles, with right now the line being Mike LaJoy, who's 4 points ahead of Galloway and Battles and Dixon and Galloway all tied at 26. So actually, it's a 3-way tie at the moment for the last spot in. So we'll see how this final stage goes. We'll hope we get some quick math to break it all out. But right now, Hagen Feather Place will be in row number 1. Final stage here. Let's get it underway here. Green flag is out, and away we go for the final stage. So right there, Hagen will keep the pace he did from the last stage. He'll lead the first lap of the final stage. Wanzing going to try to get around Feather Place here as they battle for second. Other cars battling further back. You can see, I believe, Overstack and Fleming fighting for 10th place honors. But the cars that were fighting pretty much all throughout stage number 2 will continue their battle here as Wanzing now at the second. Feather Place going to slot down to 3rd with Gaiman in 4th. Fastest lap of the race for John Hagen. That will give him 1 extra bonus point as well for his honors. So obviously drivers that get bonus points for either leading a lap, leading the most laps, and getting the fastest lap of the race. So Hagen obviously has a trifecta as he's done all of that and a bag of chips. Well, speaking of that, though, Seth Wanzing just took it back, so never mind. Short honors for Hagen. That lap now belongs to Seth Wanzing, who just ran a 23.44 that time by. If you're Wanzing, you want to make sure you don't burn the stuff on it, because we saw that late in the run. Wanzing has a good short run car. He's able to hang on to Hagen. However, by the end of the stage, that car, by the pit stop window opening up, it looked like it was just too little too late. And the car completely ran itself out of tire. Well, I got this quick lull. I do want to report one thing about Jonathan Adams. Obviously, we saw him go 1 down in his Hail Mary throw. It will be interesting to see if that works. That is the decisive factor, because right now, I got him 6 points above the line. And looking behind him, though, he does have at least 1 playoff driver trapped on the same lap of him and Brian Dixon. However, though, with Kent, Withers, Galloway, and everyone else ahead of him a lap, he's going to have to hope they finish further down, or if he can maybe get his lap back. I just want to give a quick update on Jonathan Adams. We'll see if that Hail Mary throw can work out for him. But you can't blame a driver trying something to get himself back in contention. Further back, we do have a battle now between the 16 and the 17. Marshall looking to try to get around Feemster here. Feemster putting up a good quality top 5 run here in that number 17 machine. As he's giving strength to the drivers that make the playoffs here, as he's putting down a good run. For record keepers at home, last driver to win a playoff race of a non-playoff driver was Brendan Roberts last season, who took home 2 victories in back-to-back weeks. So had done the last couple seasons, so we'll see if Feemster can also join the Winners Club here. Feather Place now getting pressured by Gaiman. This is what we saw throughout the first 2 stages. Feather Place seems to have a good long run car, while short run is a little bit of a struggle for him. Keep an eye on this, but right now Hagen has not fully checked out. It's a healthy gap, though, about half a second between Wanzing and... Actually, it's actually a second, my mistake, between Hagen and Wanzing right now. Matthew Kent right now hounding the back of Matt Vordon. This is currently 8th, 9th, and 10th on the track. All playoff drivers on your screen as the eye can see. as these 5 are all battling for position 8th through 12th. Kent right now with Vordon. Obviously, Kent needs the biggest hail throw here, as he was, at the moment, still well under 12 points to the line. He's, I wouldn't say in a must-win at this moment, but the stages have not fallen to his favor. He's going to have to hope for some bad luck from drivers ahead of him, or he's going to have to hope that other drivers begin to have some issues here. So we'll go back up towards the front pack here. Still pretty close here, as they're all getting under a blanket here, 2nd through 6th. So we're keeping up pretty much on 2 battles here. We're keeping an eye on the 2nd pack here of Kent down. And we got the 1st pack of Wanzing through Marshall. Blake Galloway right there, making a move on Mike LaJoy. Mike LaJoy is 1 down. I'm reading my numbers correctly. Yep, he is 1 down. So Mike LaJoy is 1 down as well. So that is not for position. But still has some implications at the very least if they do fight too hard. Matt Bourdon, Chris Fleming, Black S Racing versus Matt Bourdon. But right now, Bourdon, Smeal Racing Designs machine will stay ahead. Back up to the top 3, last spot on the podium. Brandon Featherplace challenging game in here. They're pretty much fighting out. They've pulled out a little bit of a gap to Kevin Feemster in 6th. As you hit the magical lap 120. So 80 laps to go in this race. It has been going by in a flash. We'll take this quick opportunity while there's a lull to kind of just give you a quick race recap here. Right now, obviously, leading the most laps and pretty much one of the dominant drivers here tonight is John Hagan, who's led over 93 of the 120 laps, easily getting at 100 before this race is concluded. Then Wanzi, Featherplace, and Gaiman have been pretty much the best of the rest, as they have pretty much been here, along with Edward Marshall. Let's not discount him. But they've been kind of in this 2nd pack here, as they've been battling 2nd through 5th throughout the night. After that, though, Kevin Feemster has a good run in 6th. And then after that, 7th on down has been a roll the dice kind of situation, as at one point you'll see Kent, who qualified last row of the grid, now up 7th. And you have drivers like Overstad, who's leading this race earlier and was in the qualified towards the front, getting to struggle here, as now he is currently in 10th. Going to go down. Dale Markowski, another driver that's really had some troubles here as well, as he's beginning to fall down the order, but still, at the very least, on the lead lap. Right there, another lap car getting around Galloway here, as Dixon putting the elbows out a little bit. Him being pinned down a lap along with Mike Joy and Jonathan Adams, the playoff drivers. He knows he needs to gain points, but it's hard to do when there's only so high you can go. Back up to 2nd. It's getting pretty close here between Wanzing and Featherplace. Haven't gone board with the driver in a while. We'll go on board here with Brandon Featherplace just to get a feel of what he's doing different than Wanzing here. That time by Wanzing was slightly faster, but overall, Featherplace is reeling in this number 5 machine. One thing of note, though, is we officially have, I guess, hit the window you could officially pit make it on 1 tank of fuel if you do save. But right now, Featherplace is going to make a big lunge on Wanzing, and he's going to get the job done. So put Featherplace now up to race leader. Is what I would say if John Hagan wasn't 2 seconds up the road, but currently sitting in 2nd. But to kind of finish my point, though, is right now we're officially in the fuel window you could make it to the end on 1 tank of fuel. However, just because you can make it on 1 tank of gas doesn't mean you're going to make it on 1 set of tires from here. And no driver is going to be risking it enough to do this, as by the time the undercut would even happen, by the time they would undercut now, by the time their tires would fall off the cliff is when the field here would be coming to pit, or even later than that. So there's no benefit of going for the super undercut, even though you could theoretically make it on 1 tank of gas. keep an eye on Feather Place right now. We're going to go a little bit further back. Marshall is slowly reeling in Gaiman. In Component, you could generally argue Edward Marshall is definitely one of those drivers as a short run driver, if you will. He's very good at getting the short run out of his car along with Wanzing. In Kowai, both of them are the undercut drivers of the field. So we've hit 130. John Hagan still leads the way, 2 seconds clear of Brandon Featherplace here. So as we watch the action here, I'm going to step away just for 2 seconds here. But you will not miss a thing as we'll stay live on the action, so do not go anywhere. Back to commentary in just a second, but we'll let you hear the sights and sounds of Iowa as the action roars on. Sorry about that intrusion, but you've not missed a thing. However, we have seen while watching Gaiman here, Wanzing has lost touch to Brandon Featherplace, made a slight mistake, and now Gaiman and Marshall have reeled in the driver of the 5. We are inching closer and closer to seeing a pit stop window open up here. Safe to assume we'll see that window open up around when it comes down to tire wear. Some drivers will maybe take a risk and take it on 2. As tires will not presumably make it in their peak window, but definitely some drivers will try to go on 1 stop here. Obviously, the 1 stop would be the more ideal strategy as it's 1 less pit stop around here. However, if your tires struggle, you may be trying to roll the dice here. But Matthew Kent officially in. He is going to pit here along with Patrick Oberstadt. They are going to try the 2-stop strategy here. So coming around 137, 140, then come back in around 175 to 180 to get to the finish line. So they are officially committing to the 2-stop. However, there will be some drivers daring enough once they get closer and closer to maybe like 50 to go, will try the 1-stop. We're watching this battle for the last couple laps, and it's still shaping up nicely here. Marshall keeping an eye on the back of Gaiman, and now Kevin Feemster slowly reeling in as we watch through the glass of Kevin Feemster. Marshall going to think about making a move here. Going to try to get his Grizzly number 16 in on the corner panel. Can't fully get it done, though. And he's going to have to get back up on the horse and try again. As we're about to enter the pit stop window here, we'd like to thank everyone for tuning in here on ABN Studios. We hope you do enjoy tonight's broadcast of the ARCS Iowa 200 for the A² Cup Series. We do hope that you come by next week as we start the round of 12 as 12 drivers will continue their quest to fight for a championship as they will continue on the fight. Back up, it's still John Hagan is not yet blinked. You do got to think one driver, as we get closer and closer here, the one stop is going to become more and more in vogue here. Obviously, Matthew Kent, being a driver that's in a Hail Mary throw, he knows he wants the best life in his tires to try to undercut and then try to pit again and get the fresh speed to get as much as he can. Meanwhile, Patrick Oberstadt currently comfortably in, but definitely worth taking the risk here to see if he can get something extra out of it, as he knows he struggles with the long run. However, in pose right now, they are both currently one down, and they are in a risk of going another one down here if they're not careful. And this also, like I said, plays into the hands of Jonathan Adams. We talked about still currently the first car one down. If he were to come out somewhere between here and now, he would put himself in a much better spot to make it to the round of 12. Right now, it is counting pennies. See if he gets in, but we'll see if that Hail Mary strategy in stage 2 could be enough to propel him inside the top 12. While we were looking away, Gaiman was able to get passed by Edward Marshall, so now Marshall is up to 4th. So Marshall was using his persistency, and he was able to get around. However, Wansing was able to check away from this battle, now about 1 second clear of this battle we got for 5th, and it's still not fully settled yet as Gaiman looks poised to try to get it back. As they begin to get into lap traffic as well, that can play a factor, and depending on where the car picks their line, it could help or hurt, as obviously with Mongold coming in at 138 there, he's got some fresh tires on that 4, and he's going to be able to theoretically rip around these battles with those fresh tires. This battle begins to shape out. We have another driver coming in, Tommy Withers. It's going to be interesting to see if he takes the 2 or the 1-stop approach here, as you could theoretically make it on a 1. We also know Withers is definitely a driver with the fuel being here. We'll see what he elects to do here. But it is still pretty far on a fresh set of tires, so he could also be on a 2-stop here, theoretically, again, with the benefits of a 2-stop. If a late caution were to come out, the strategy presumably would be to stay out and theoretically then get back in the late lap that way. Well, to stay out and then gain the track position through that method, I should say. Battles in, looks like as well, looks like the 8 of Jonathan Adams, he also came in recently as well. Both lap down machines, but they will both come in as well. Well, Battle's actually on the lap. Adams obviously was 1 down, now 3 down. Still no blinks from our pretty much top 10 here for the most part. Feams are beginning to fall back here, struggling with a long run. He is now getting passed by Chris Fleming. Edward Marshall, though, speaking of, is going to be the first driver in the top 10 to come in. Oh, cars around Withers and Feemster. No caution called. Theoretically, there's the caution. And that is going to put a big old shakeup on this tenfold. Maybe ill time for some, others this is going to benefit. Obviously, Marshall's in his box. We'll cycle everything out in a second. We're going to let the field get fully caught up here. However, we're going to see what exactly just happened with Kevin Feemster and Tommy Withers. So obviously, this is the tail end of where the caution obviously already took place. So we're going to have to rewind just a bit, see what happened. All right, so here we are right now. We were talking about how Fleming was just getting passed by, Fleming was passing Feimster. We'll slow it down here. Was Feimster maybe coming in, is the question. We'll play it back at full speed here. Oh, yeah, Feimster was trying to come in. And when he was trying to come in, Withers just caught him at the worst spot. And he ended up piling in, so it was just a pit stop situation. And nowhere for him to go, and that's what brings out our caution here. We'll take another look. This time we'll go on board with the driver of the 43, and you're just going to see the speed differential here. Bam! Right there. Just 17 came in. And either Withers didn't know, because obviously the drivers will call out their moves and will call out their situations. However, in these situations, obviously, maybe it wasn't heard. Maybe Feimster didn't call it out. Maybe didn't know how far Withers was back. Unsure. We'll watch one more time this on board with Kevin Feimster just to see if we can get a full understanding of what happened here. Yeah, you see him slowing down there. It looks like he was trying to pit, or maybe he was just struggling. Regardless, he gets hit by Withers, and that's all it takes to get a caution here in A squared. So back to live action. Actually, we'll take one more quick look. It looks like Kevin Feimster had to jump the pit, so we'll take one quick look at this here. See what exactly happened. So this is a little bit later. Oh. Insult to injury, if you will, for Kevin Feimster there. As he came around to hit the pit lane, and then, yeah, he looks like he's just going to call it a day. But that is just heartbreaking, if you will, for the driver of the 17. So while the field gets recycled here, we'll take a quick look to get this understood of how everything is going right now. John Hagan at the moment is your race leader. He came in and took 4 tires of fuel. Featherplace, Wanzing, Gaiman, Hordon, your top 5. Theoretically, no pit stops loom at the moment, as drivers can make it on one more tank of fuel. However, there is possibly some tire risk if you can't make it the full 50. So if it goes green, we don't see, theoretically, any drivers coming in. 13 cars currently on the lead lap. Actually, I should say it will be in a second. We'll update in a minute. But Withers, LaJoy, and Oberstadt will get on the back on the lead lap here through the Lucky Dog and the wave around system. Meaning we have at the moment, actually, sorry, LaJoy will not get back on lead lap along with Withers. They are both still going to be 1 down. So we will have 13 cars on lead lap. LaJoy will be the first car 1 down on the same lap with Withers and Battles. Johnson will be 2 down. Dixon will be 5 down. And it looks like it's day done for Jonathan Adams, as he is going to pull behind the wall. Presumably he's got a lengthy repair clock, and he's going to be 7 down. So it looks unlikely Adams will make it through the next round, but we'll do all the math when we get to the end. But up front, we don't see any pit stops on the horizon. So it looks like it's going to be out a 40-lap shootout to the finish if it stays green. Green flag is out, and away we go to hopefully see this through to the finish. Battle for third, ranging on. Gaiman going to get clear of Seth Wanzing. As we talked about tonight, Gaiman was only 3 clear of the line. However, with the drive he's done through stage points, he has opened up that gap quite a treat. It's now 16 points ahead just with stage points alone. If he can finish inside the top 5, he will firmly pull himself into the next round. However, if a mistake were to happen, that's when the math could get a bit tricky. Hagan just set the fastest lap of the race with a 23.41. Next fastest in that exchange was Seth Wanzing in a 23.42. Obviously, like I said, no drivers will be poised to pit here. However, if the caution were to align itself, we may see drivers come down and take 1 extra set of tires here if they so need it. top three all on our screens. Gaiman just set the fast lap of the race last time by. We'll see if anyone sets a blistering time this time by. Advantage was still Camp Gaiman, 23.41. Slowest on the top three was actually our race leader, John Hagan, who ran a 23.56. See Featherplace trying what he can do. We'll go actually on board here with Gaiman. He's got a pretty good seat in the house in this top three exchange here. That time by, he was fastest again out of this top three, but being the fastest is not the be-all, end-all if you can't find a way around the cars ahead of you. That time by, looking at the times, fast on the track was actually Brandon Featherplace, and you can see right now Featherplace wants this lead. He wants to be the first driver to pass that car on track since Fordon did back at lap 10. And Featherplace not going to go away quietly. He's going to get the elbows out. He knows a win will get him some extra playoff points he could use for the next round. And with these rounds being so short, every point can matter the more the field shrinks. If they touch, obviously Gaiman's there to pick up the pieces. Featherplace, again, getting those elbows out. Not afraid to get dirty. Featherplace going to try to clear in his Toyota, and he will for a second, but he can't fully get it planted. However, Featherplace will take the lead. Went from racing next gens at the Brickyard earlier this week to now here at Iowa in the cornfields, trying to hang on and beat the 7-time winner in John Hagan. Gaiman almost tried to go in there for a move, and I thought we saw contact. However, we avoid contact. But it could have all went for have not there. Seth Wansing, Fordon, and Fleming about a second and a half back of this top three battle. But however, if we do cut our minds back to lap 10, we saw Fordon get clear of Hagan, then Hagan was able to rip it around him and pull away. So we don't know. Has Featherplace found that next gear? Or is Hagan maybe playing a bit of possum here to make sure those tires hang on for this longer than usual run? As again, there's no need to come in, as the few will make it the remaining distance. Cut away from this just for a second, as we do see some other battles raging down the field with some playoff implications. Matthew Kent currently sits in 7th, with other drivers having some troubles here. I don't fully know if he's done enough, but he's trying his darndest to try to get that 15 in. He has to make over 12 points. However, again, his one advantage is his main rivals, Withers, Battles, at the moment. Adams is behind the wall, and Dixon all trapped one down. Again, it's not a major swing, but can it be enough to at least give himself a fighting chance here to get himself back inside the top 12? Further he goes up, obviously the more it helps him, but he's going to try his, again, Texas native, going to try to get around here. Further back, Galloway. Like I said, every point does matter. Galloway was below the line. However, with the troubles of Adams, Withers, Kent, and Dixon, right now where he's running, I believe he is currently in. But you don't want to tempt fate, and you want to make sure you stay ahead here. This is 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th on track. Going to cut back up to the race lead, as it is getting pretty close here again. We do not want to miss the pass for the race lead. Hagan getting back on the back of Featherplace here. When they come across the line this time by, we'll have 31 laps to go. Can Featherplace hang on? Most experts agreed once Millet missed the playoffs, this was going to be more than likely the battle we were going to have at Michigan. When these two were going to fight for this championship, more than likely be a battle between those two. Obviously, no shade on the rest of the field with that comment, but these two have been the top two in the standings for weeks now. Hagan, though, going to get around and repass Featherplace with 30 to go. Does Featherplace have anything in the tank to get back around? I said, was Hagen playing a bit of possum. So let's stay on this battle just for a second. We're probably going to cut back in a minute back to Galloway McDonough, but obviously this is a bit more important. They are going to catch a little traffic here. Brian Johnson's just up the road. And we'll cut on board here with Feather Place just for a second to show you it is only going to be Brian Johnson. So, oh, Johnson's going to put a little pinch on Hagen. Indirect and just trying to get out of the way, but that is going to be enough. At least maybe slow him down just a tiny bit. However, not going to be enough to really play a factor. However, that is going to allow Gaiman to get a little bit closer here on that number 61. Again, they have pulled a healthy distance from 4th place. As long as they don't wreck each other, you're looking at your podium here in this top 3 as long as it stays green. I'm going to cut back just in a second here, show you again the battle we were keeping an eye on. Galloway, McDonough, Cheeseburger Lawrence, currently sitting 8th, 9th, and 10th on the track. Inverse effect of what we're seeing at the top spots, but it looks like they've pretty much gotten this settled out between the 2 of them. As we see a bit of a lag out there by the driver of the 39. Patrick Oberstadt right now doing okay, but was focusing on Edward Marshall, who's fallen outside the top 10. As remember, he did come in right when the pit stop was closed, however, was not able to gain any track position. So he will be currently sitting in 11, just trying to get that 60 to go forward. We'll go back up to the top 3 here as Feather Place is beginning to fall back a little bit to Hagen. That time I will give you a quick update on the times here. 24.51 for Hagen, 24.62 for Feather Place, and a 24.58 for Gaiman. Wanzing was the nearest driver on times with a 24.53. Or if Blake Galloway ran at 24.49, fastest on the track, as he currently sits in 8th. We'll check it again this time by 25 coming to 24 laps to go. In the top 3, fastest car on track was Hagen again, 24.57 to Feather Place 6.2 and Gaiman 6.5 all in the 24. But again, worth noting, Wanzing was the fastest on the track in the top 4. So we'll see right now, Wanzing still a healthy distance away, 2.74 to be exact. So it's unlikely at the moment with those intervals he's getting enough inroad. That time by again, he was fastest out of the Feather Place in Gaiman, but Hagen ran a blistering time of a 24.48 fastest on the track. .23 now coming to 22 laps to go here. Not much has changed up front. Second, third, getting close between Feather Place and Gaiman, but not enough to really make competitiveness. Edward Marshall getting a good run on Cheeseburger Lawrence, trying to get his number 16 back inside the top 10. And further up the road, it's getting a little bit spicy between Kent and Galloway, as Galloway is able to get around Kent. Like I said with Kent, every point matters. That's 1 point he just lost to his total at the end of this race if he's not careful. Marshall was also able to get around Cheeseburger Lawrence, so put now Marshall inside the top 10. Lawrence now down to 11th. Obviously, questions get kind of poised here as we get close. We're going to cut back up to second as Gaiman, fastest that time by between him and Feather Place, 24.68 to a 24.72. However, it's now 1.3 seconds between him, these two, and our race leader, John Hagen. So Hagen is beginning to pull away and pull away quickly. The Wanzing faithful not giving up hope that Wanzing can find some speed here. However, he sits in 4th, about a second away from this battle here, as he's well clear of the next car in Vordon, who's 3 seconds back of the Wanzing, and about 3.5 away, 4 away from our battle for second. Getting the good runs here. There's obviously one more risk with Game. I know I talked about it earlier, but with him being healthy above the line right now with all the stage points, if he were to, let's say, junk this car, make a mistake, crash his car out of this race, he would fall down to the first car out of this race, which would be at the moment Jonathan Adams, who is behind the wall. He'd more than likely fall down to, at the very least, 20th, if not 19th, depending on how many laps are remaining when the car gets jumped. Obviously, Chris Burton's about like 20 laps down, so it's unlikely he would get passed by him. However, if he falls down to 19th, his extra stage points would still be much of a cushion. However, you're going to be cutting it close, as a lot of drivers will get a couple more points ahead of you, and can they have enough to jump you? Obviously, we're talking Atlanta superstition, but we've seen Gaiman have problems before finishing. He's had mistakes. He's made mistakes. And fighting for second, again, one little bad twitch, one little overcorrect, maybe could be the mistake if he's over pushing. So right now, he's firmly in, but telling a driver to take it off the pedal is not something you see very often in racing. Battle for a moment. We're going to cut it back a little bit further back because Marshall is trying to get around McDonough, but he's going to hit the wall a little bit for his troubles. So he's going to put some heavy scratches on that machine. Again, Marshall more than likely in with the cushion he got from Charlotte last week. However, you don't want to tempt the fates if you can help it, because he wants to keep that 16 clean. Back up towards the front, John Hagan. Again, haven't said much to him since he's pulled away, but he is still leading and still pulling away. 12 laps to go. So pull again up the speed graphic to show you. He's now 1.7 clear of Brandon Featherplace and over 2 seconds clear of John Gaiman right there behind him. So bearing another caution, this looks like it could be Hagan's race. Crazier things have happened. Let's not write this off quite yet. Featherplace, Gaiman, now Wanzing looking to join the fray here as he's been using these last 10 to 15 laps to reel in second to third. He wants to get that 5 back on the podium here. Gaiman going to tap the wall a little bit. It looked like, I think, Wanzing also followed the leader off the racing line there, or the lead car, I should say, and hit the wall a little bit himself. Go gearbox camera here for Gaiman just to show you the speed differentials here. Big hack for Wanzing, but looking at that front, I thought there were some scratches on it, but it looks like that may just be the paint scheme in question. As he's getting that 5 an inch closer and closer. 9 laps to go. Cut away from this just for a second. Keep an eye on McDonough, Kent, and Marshall. I know I keep beating a dead horse, but I do just want to reiterate, Kent is fighting for his life here in 8th. Any more spots lost, and this could be his playoff officially done in an unceremonious first-round exit. Patrick Overstat just came in, by the way, which is a bit odd, but that could promote up some other drivers up 1 spot. As he is officially in, it looks like he said no moss on those tires. We'll cut back up to 3rd. Wanzing, again, trying to steal that last podium spot. He is running faster on the track. So kind of keeping an eye on both battles here. Kent has just lost a spot here to McDonough. How hard do you want to fight, and how much do these spots mean? But I think Kent may have hit the tire limit on his tires, as he's going to get passed by Marshall. LaJoy is not for position, but he's now going to fall down to 10th. Further back up, Gaiman is holding fast against Featherplace and Wanzing. Wanzing maybe hitting a bit of that dirty air on the side of that machine And it's indirectly not allowing Wanzing to get a good run here. Leaving those open holes is giving Wanzing at least a chance to get a run here, but Gaiman feels more comfortable in that middle groove. 5 laps to go. Gaiman way up the racing surface there a little bit, just trying to arc the middle of the corner here. Keep an eye on this. This is again the last step of the podium. And also the last driver we'll be talking to tonight will be the CZW 61 or the Hare 5. Coming 4 laps to go. Wanzing got a good run, but can't fully get the job done there. 3 to go. Not missing anything up front. Hagen has got a healthy gap to Brandon Featherplace. Gap of well over 2 seconds. We're staying on this battle here for the last podium spot, at least the final lap. A little bit of traffic going to help here. They're going to catch Cheeseburger Lawrence, who's currently sitting in 12th. Oh, that could be the pick Wanzing may need. He's going to have a chance heading into 1 here with 2 laps to go. And we have a caution. Hold everything. We're going to recycle this. And I think it's Matt Fordon. He's down pit lane. It was not, I don't think, Matt. It was Matt Fordon. We can confirm that as he has jumped the pit lane. So we'll take a look here to see what's brought out the caution. Obviously, Fordon is a playoff driver, too. He was 10 points above the line. This could have implications, but let's take a look, see what happened to the driver of the 00. Oh, it kicked out. Oh, it hit the inside wall a good amount, and then it shot up the road. Does he collect anyone else? No, he doesn't, but iRacing will call that a caution as he is stopped on the racing surface in a dangerous spot. So even though it's 1 car, iRacing cautions will call that a caution as Fordon couldn't get it back under his own power. So that is going to change a lot of things here. Pit lane is now officially open. Question is, who's going to come in and take service, and who's going to stay out and try to hang on for 2 laps? Well, Hagen's in, Gaiman's in, Wanzing will stay out along with Brandon Featherplace, I believe. Yep, he will. So pit lane right now, we'll pull up the pit road graphic here if we can. There we go. That's the wrong one, actually. Pit road, here we go. So we got Hagen, Gaiman, the 05 machine at Galloway, McDonough, Marshall, and Markowski all coming in. But up front, Featherplace, Wanzing, Fleming, and Kent will stay out on old tires. And just to race off pit lane real fast to show you, Hagen will be the first car off pit lane with Gaiman being the next one. So this has changed everything. Hagen was looking poised to take the victory. However, now Hagen's going to have to try to get these fresh tires to carve through. And actually, he didn't even have 4 tires left. He only took 2. So he did not have an extra set of 4. So he's only going to have 2 tires on this machine, whether by choice or whether by pure necessity. He's going to have to try to make 2 tires work. Handful lap car is going to come down here. Johnson, Dixon, and Baxter. So we should get the 1 to go, if not this time, next time. Battles will not be able to get back on the lead lap. Oberstadt will get the lucky dog along with Withers. However, I was talking about how things can change. Right now, Kent sits in 4th. He can make this a net gain. He's not probably got the tires and the speed to get the win unless pure chaos happens. However, he is one of those drivers that needs a good run. Fleming as well. Only was 7 above the line. Did not get any stage points. It looks poised. He should be good to go to the round of 12 by basic math. I test math. However, at the same point again, win this race and you don't have to worry about any math. We saw Battles do it at Talladega a couple weeks ago to punch his way in. This is the ultimate Hail Mary, maybe the miracle answered, but we'll focus on our top 2. Wanzing, Featherplace. Control will be on Featherplace. Wanzing on the outside. It looks like we look at the last times, Featherplace was running slightly faster than Wanzing was. So you like the advantage that Feather Place would have here going on this restart. However, the fresh tires, as they don't have 4 fresh tires in Hagen and Gaiman, both sit only 2 rows back. If we get another caution between here and the finish, I like the odds Hagen and Gaiman can caught up. However, I don't know. This is going to be interesting. It's a short run. However, we've seen tires play a big factor out here, especially in a short distance. And we know Hagen's got good speed in that machine, but can 2 tires be enough to beat the old 4 tires of Feather Place and Wanzing? Longest they've run on those tires all night. And they're going to have to try to make this work for 2 more laps to win this race. It's going to be Feather Place, Wanzing, Fleming, Kent, Hagen, Gaiman, Galloway, McDonough, Marshall, Markowski, your top 10.
Green flag.
Green is out, and away we go. And it almost looked like Feather Place got a good launch, but he spun the tires, and look at Hagen. Already going to make it 3 wide, heading off into 1. And he's already got around 2 cars here looking to try to make it 3. And I think we're looking at a poise here that the 2 are going to be the advantage. Feather Place cannot do anything. Cars wrecking further back. Fleming up the road. We'll see if we stay green. We will. However, this is going to get spicy quick. The 2-tire call seems to be the right one. Galloway going to try to carve for the field along with Gaiman as the 2-tire runners are going up for the field here. Further back up to the top, though, Hagen was able to get around it with a lap to spare, and as he comes off of 4, he will sweep the round of 16. John Hagen, your winner. Josh Gaiman coming home in second, and Blake Galloway will make the strategy call work coming in late, and will get the last step of the podium. Marshall 4th, Feather Place, your top 5. Obviously, we'll have to see how it all shakes out here. And there's going to be questions of how the points lie, and we'll do the math in just a minute. However, there's one thing we can't fully not disagree on, is John Hagen has swept the round of 16, and he will be going with a full steam momentum heading into the round of 12. So as Hagen burns it down, and we'll pull up the nice little graphic to show you he's won here at Iowa. We are going to do some quick math here, see if we can get a rough estimate of where everyone is. And do not go anywhere. We will hear from the top 3 in just a second here. Again, that is just what the doctor ordered for Galloway. I think more than likely that is going to save his season. So they see Hagen going to park it up here in just a second. Just finishing out writing some numbers here. We'll do the calculation in just a second, and while we see Hagen take it down pit lane here, we're going to take a quick look at the final results, and then we'll get to the interviews here. So obviously Hagen takes victory, Gaiman gets second, Blake Galloway with the big throw there should more than likely get him into the round of 12 with the podium step here. Marshall 4th, Brandon Feather Place 5th, Dale Markowski 6th, Seth Wanzing 7th as the 2 tires did not work for Feather Place and Wanzing, Chris Fleming 8th, Matthew Kent 9th, Kyle McDonough 10th. Michael Cheeseburger Lawrence, 11th, last car in the lead lap with Oberstedt, Withers, and LaJoy rounding out the top 14. Let's go to the next page of the results. Battles 15th, Dixon 16th, Brian Johnson first to real retirements at 17th along with Baxter. Verdon, obviously, actually they finished, but they were multiple laps down. Verdon crashes out, will finish 19th. We'll see if he had enough points to get through. Burton 20th, Feemster 21st, Adams 22nd, Mongol 23rd, and Mark Dila bringing up the rear in 24th. So it looks like Hagen is trying to find his way to victory lane there as obviously he will not have that luxury. We'll get all the audio going up here and synced out, and then we will hear from our top 3 in just 1 second. We do have Blake Galloway and Gaiman waiting. So we will actually go backwards here, unless we see Hagen pop in just 1 second here. We'll work our way backwards from 3 to 1. So we'll hear from Blake Galloway first, and then we'll work our way up. Blake, this is Kevin the A-Band Booth. You got a copy?
I gotcha.
All righty. Obviously, you had a very interesting race, to say the least. Obviously, coming into tonight, you had to work for everything you get to try to get in the round of 12, but we'll get in that in just a minute. We'll have to start with qualifying. So, obviously, qualifying, you qualified probably a little bit poorer than you wanted to. So, what happened during qualifying here, and what did the car feel like at this track? Do you feel like this was did you feel like there were some worries with how this car felt on this track? Or do you think you were more of a race pace guy and qualifying was not indicative of your speed?
Yeah, I mean, I think I probably could have got a tenth and a half more out of it. I just messed up a little bit. But I knew we had a little something more of a race pace for the race.
Mm-hmm. Looking onward, obviously, we get through the race. We see you battling around the top 10. And I do got to ask, because you were one of those drivers on the bubble line, do you have your teammates, do you have other drivers updating on where you are, or you just don't want that noise? You just want to do your own thing, and whatever happens, happens?
I looked at the points before the race started, and then I didn't think about it again throughout the race. I just needed to do the best that I could.
Fair enough. I think sometimes drivers just don't want that in the back of their mind. Just do what you can do. Looking onward, we see as you run around the top 10, you're moving in the top 7. It looking like it was going to be a great finish. And then a late caution comes out with 2 to go with Vordon's incident. And I do got to ask, we saw you come in. Was there we saw the drivers you were battling around with Fleming and Kent stay out. Was there a chance we were going to see you come in? Was coming in the main goal? Were you going to come in with 2 to go? Or was there a chance you were considering staying out there and trying to tough it out on 2 tires?
No, it was an immediate 2-tire call. I knew that the guys that were staying out were going to have no tires at all left, just based on racing them and kind of pacing around them before that caution came out. So I knew they were going to be pretty easy to pass.
Mm-hmm. And obviously, it worked out quite nice. You saw you just rip around there and make it work. Obviously, points tabulations are still coming through, and obviously we'll have an update. Obviously, the servers at A Squared will let you know where you finish up. But I feel like, at least through an eye test, I feel like you're poised at the moment to make it through the playoffs with your podium here. I can't say, obviously, for certain, but I feel at the moment you look good. So if you do obviously make it through, obviously congratulations. But how does that go into your mind heading into next week? As obviously I believe, just confirm the track we are going to as well, as obviously got a lot of things bumping around here. But we do head to Nashville next week. So how do you feel at Nashville as a track? Do you think it's a track that plays into your wheelhouse?
I think so. I think it's kind of similar to this track. If you can hit the bottom real well, save some tire, you'd be in good shape. If we do get through, I got to give a lot of credit to Bren Roberts. He was on the box tonight, keeping me disciplined to keep doing what I was doing, and Jared Merchant was a really good cheerleader as well tonight.
Mm-hmm. Well, after doing some quick math here, yeah, I can say you're firmly ahead of enough drivers here to put you in. So again, I'll wait obviously for them to confirm it, but I feel confident saying you will be going on to the next round. So congratulations, but obviously just wait for the results there. But congratulations regardless. So anyway, we got to the point. If there's anyone you want to thank, family, friends, sponsors, what have you, floor is yours. Take it away.
I'd like to thank you for putting on a great broadcast every week. And once again, Bren Roberts for being on the box, keeping me disciplined, keeping me in the game. Made all the strategy calls tonight, so a lot of credit goes to him. And Jared Merchant for cheering me on when I needed it. I got down a couple times when I was making mistakes, and everybody just kind of kept me in the game.
Yeah, it's definitely good to have, a voice in your ear to keep you calm and motivated, and that definitely shows out. Great to see Bren and Co. in there helping you out there. But regardless, enjoy the podium, enjoy the rest of your week, and hopefully we talk to you before season's end. So regardless, take care. Have a good rest of your week.
Thank you.
And that was our third place finisher, Blake Galloway, and we will move on quite nicely to our second place finisher. We'll hear from the CZW man himself, Josh Gaiman. We'll hear his thoughts now. Josh, this is Kevin the ABM booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Obviously, first of all, before we get to the interview questions, obviously great result, by the way, just what the doctor ordered. But I got to ask, what's with the CZW scheme on the paint scheme there? Is obviously you don't usually see combat zone wrestling on a lot of race cars going around on iRacing. So just got to ask real fast, what's with the paint scheme, with the CZW scheme?
Well, a lot of people grew up with ECW. I grew up with CZW, so I represent what I love, and
Barrett?
it's just kind of noticed a couple of really good logos that I could put on a car, and had a friend do it up, and it looks really good. And then I had Kevin do this one.
Man, I could not disagree with that one. It does look quite nice. So, and hey, again, showing love to the tournament of death and all that in between. But we'll get back on track here and get back to the race at hand. Obviously, coming into tonight, you were obviously 3 above the line, and you had a good result. But qualifying, you showed that it was quite well. And we know at Iowa, we saw you in the trucks, and we saw you in HTL. This is definitely a track you really like and do well at. So, am I not wrong assuming that this car felt really dialed in for you here tonight?
Yeah, it was pretty solid. I definitely wasn't able to hold on to the right front as long as other drivers. Yeah, John and Fetter Place there were running away from me before that caution came out, so it did save me a little bit. And I was expecting everyone to come in and get tires there, but a couple of people stayed out, and it allowed me to shoot around them there and secure a second place.
Mm-hmm. And we definitely saw that work, and obviously we'll get to that in a second. But we do got to talk about your battles you had out with both Feather Place and Wanzing, as it did seem like at the moment it was you, Feather Place, and Wanzing battling for the second position. So thoughts on those two and the battles you had on the track throughout these 200 laps?
Yeah, it was super clean. I didn't have any contact even, I think, between any of us really. It was just a lot of really hard battling and just trying to push the car as hard as we could with what tires we had, and just was able to come out on top.
Mm-hmm. And then looking onward, obviously we'll get to the main elephant in the room here. Looking on where we get that late caution with Verdon having that incident, and we come in and we were pondering the thought, was anyone going to stay out? We saw we saw both Feather Place and Wanzing stay out, and we asked Galloway this question, and we'll ask you, and I'll probably ask Hagen the same question. What was the mindset of coming in for 2? Because obviously tires really did matter, and we obviously saw them go for 50, but was there any mindset that you maybe were thinking to roll the dice and stay out, or was just that tire differential too crazy to make that work?
Yeah, I mean, we were like 2.5 seconds off of our fast laps there by the end of that, and I was just like, I mean, that's, it's a green-white checkered, it's 2 laps, that's 5 seconds you're losing, just trying to, scuttle around with bad tires. So I just went in through 2 on, and the left sides were good enough to keep going. And it was, clearly it was exactly what I should have done.
Mm-hmm. And it definitely worked out. You got that car around, just couldn't get it carved through quick enough. Hagen was able to get a little bit further up, but hey, a P2 is not that bad. Looking on at the points, obviously, with your stage points, you gave yourself enough cushion, and with your P2 tonight, you are into the next round. So congratulations on that one. But looking onward, we obviously talked about next week being the track of... I had it in my mind, and I just lost it again. Nashville, thank you. How is Nashville looking as a track for you? Is the concrete 1.5-mile oval? How is it a track for you? And do you think it's a track you'll be just as strong at like Iowa here tonight?
I'm definitely hoping so. I've run good there in the past. I've had podiums there. I don't think I've got a win yet, but there's always a chance. It's definitely not my favorite track, but it usually puts on a pretty good race.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll see if it definitely rewards you the same success it did here at Iowa tonight. Looking onward and looking further ahead here, but also if we got to the point of the show, then we want to thank family, friends, sponsors, what have you. Floor is yours. Take it away.
Yeah, I'll thank Kevin Feemster for bringing me in to Dirty Air Motorsports, and just trusting me to put the car forward. It's been a good season so far between the whole team. We've been working really well together. Shout out to all the guys that are putting this series together. It's even in its ups and downs, it's still been a really good season. The racing's been just getting better and better throughout this year. So hopefully it just kind of continues that trend all the way up to Michigan. And shout out to you for doing the broadcasts and and being here every week with us.
Yeah, it's been great calling this action, great to watch this action when it definitely provides quite nicely. But again, congratulations making the next round of playoffs. Hope you have just some great success at Nashville, and hopefully we talk for the end of the season. But if not, take care. Have a good rest of your week.
Yeah, we're going.
And that was our second place finisher, Josh Gaiman. That leaves us with one driver to go here. He was our race winner, and he will be here from now. John Hagan will hear his thoughts now. John, this is Kevin the ABM booth. You got a copy?
Hello, Kevin.
Hello, indeed. Obviously, you had a very uneventful race. Well, eventful to some degree, then uneventful, then eventful at the end. But we'll have to start at the very beginning. Looking on where qualifying car looked like it was ripped on a rail there. So, I do got to ask, obviously, seems like a lot of tracks fit into the wheelhouse, you being in that strong suit. But was Iowa another track we could say that is a strong suit of John Hagan?
I sort of had to learn how to do it today. I was saying this last week. I'd run like 2 races here prior. Like one, I think last year A² went in like one singular official, and that was all pre-update with the car and the track and the grip. So I really had no idea what I was getting into going into tonight. The setup seemed to match with how I like to drive, and we just went on and learned from there, and it was pretty all right, I think.
Yeah, it definitely was. It definitely showed like you could have fooled me without the little practice that you may have done there, but it definitely worked strong. Looking onward throughout the race, you obviously pulled ahead, played back. I do got to ask, because with Fordon and Feather Place, we saw early in the race, Fordon passed you, and then you got around him. And Feather Place, the same thing. Were you trying to save a little bit of tire, try to make something work there, or you just got beat to the punch and were just being cautious? Because both times it looked like you got passed, and then you waited, and you just went around, next thing you know, you're 2 seconds up the road. So were you playing a bit of possum and save some stuff, or was that just you got bested and eventually found your way back around?
You know how I go. I don't pick up pace for. There has to be a good reason for me to pick up pace during a race. So both those times I was saving stuff. I always, anytime I race, I have more in the tank than what I'm giving out on the track. So that was just me saving tires, and they wanted to push the issue, and I was like, okay, go for it. We're just going to sit here and save stuff. Especially tonight at Iowa, this is one of the few next-gen tracks where tires just die. So, I mean, I was just saving my stuff and knowing that the tires are just going to die and pass them 5-10 laps later.
Mm-hmm. Well, looking onward, obviously we saw you get those good runs and pull away, and then we get a caution with 2 to go. And I asked Galloway and gave him the same question. I'll ask you the same question as well. In your mind, was it automatically just going to be you're coming in for 2 regardless what happens? Or was there a back of your mind thought like maybe I should just stay out and make it work? So you were coming in for 2 more than likely, I assume, correct?
Yeah, there was no doubt in my mind. I mean, if somebody on tires started 25th, I mean, they could have won the race on tires because tires were like 2.5 seconds better than old tires, especially after that 50 laps we had on the tires. So, I mean, that was really no-brainer. I mean, and then I restarted 5th, and all I had to do is pass 1.5 rows of cars, and I'm in the lead. So it was pretty easy to make that decision.
Yeah, you got it done with a lap to spare nonetheless. It made it a little more anticlimactic, but hey, a win's a win. Looking onward, obviously you've swept the round of 16, and next up we got Nashville. Does it a track that fits in the Hagen's wheelhouse, and we see you go 3 for 3 to start these playoffs?
I like Nashville. There's not a lot of tracks that I don't like. That falls into the it's okay category. I don't love it, but it's all right. We'll get it done, and I have some recent experience there post update, so that should be all right going into that one.
Mm-hmm. Well, we got to the point of the show. If there's anyone you want to thank, family, friends, sponsors, what have you, floor is yours. Take it away.
Shout out SRD Motorsports and John Smill for putting me in the ride and all my teammates. Thank y'all. Shout out my beautiful girlfriend for putting up with me every time I race, with me yelling all day. Shout out the ARCS community and the A² admins for putting this league on week in, week out. Appreciate y'all. Shout out you, Kevin, and the rest of the crew in the ABM booth. Always a pleasure talking to y'all after races.
Yeah,
and thank you.
Yeah, your welcome is very well. Obviously, you probably don't get tired of talking to me if you keep winning, so it definitely shows it on those points. But regardless, obviously enjoy the victory. Obviously, I assume we'll be talking for the season's end, but if not, take care. Have a good rest of your week.
Thank you.
And that was our race winner, John Hagan, and with that will officially end the interviews here tonight. So we do got to look over the results here, and then I do have some math to go over with what we assume will be the playoffs here, and we do have some interesting math if my calculations are correct. So we'll take one more look at the final results here real fast. Obviously, we got to go back to the top. So John Hagan takes the victory. Gaiman second, Galloway third, Marshall Hoare Feather place fifth. Dale Markowski comes in sixth, Seth Wansing seventh, Chris Fleming eighth, Matthew Kent, Colin McDonough 10th. Then we got Lawrence, Oberstadt, Withers, LaJoy. Oberstadt, Withers, LaJoy being the first ones, one down. Looking onward, Battles, Dixon, Johnson, Baxter, Burton, Feemster, Adams, Mongold, Dila. Just doing some quick Renaissance math here, but I think we can firmly calculate, if my numbers are correct, where everyone will finish. So right now, we'll quickly go through this. Gonna sort the math here. So Josh Gaiman, because I didn't do the full numbers here, but we did anyone within 10 points under. So Josh Gaiman will be the first driver in the top 7 inward, so he'll be obviously safe. So actually, it'll be easier if we just do a quick follow along through the results screen here. So obviously, Hagan, Feather Place, Wansing. Hold on, just 1 second. I just want to make sure we get this fully correct here before yeah, there we go. So anyway, so Hagan, Feather Place, Wansing, Marshall, Markowski, and Oberstadt all will still make it through. Then we have Gaiman, Vordon, Fleming, Galloway, obviously with his podium, he gets in comfortably. LaJoy in 11th, as he comes home with, I believe, 2053. And then he'll come home about 5 points ahead of the car that comes home in the last spot. And if my math is correct, I believe that honor goes to Josh Battles. Josh Battles, I believe, is the last driver in, as he is at 2048. Then Brian Dixon at 2047. And I thought Adams was tied at the moment with Battles, but him coming home in 23rd, not 21st, as it does look like a bit of a scoring error on my screen, it looks like he will finish 2 back. If he came home in 21st, which my other program here says he will be in a dead tie with Battles, and at that point, I'm not even sure what the tiebreaker would be. But again, if my math is correct, Hagan, Feather Place, Wansing, Marshall, Markowski, Oberstadt, Vordon, Fleming, LaJoy, Gaiman, Battles, and Galloway will be the 12 drivers in no particular order, with Battles being last driver in, coming in 1 point ahead of Brian Dixon. So that is, I believe, how the 12 will shake up next round. Obviously, don't take my word for it. Keep an eye on the ABN Studio socials and also A Squared socials as well, and ARCS socials for confirmation who the round of 12 drivers will be. And you'll see those drivers fight next week at Nashville at 7 p.m. Eastern. But that will do it for me here tonight. It's been a great broadcast, great to watch here at Iowa, and hopefully Nashville is the same. But hope everyone watching takes care, and they have a good rest of their evening.